And when that happens, one of the impeachment managers will be Congressman Joe Neguse, Democrat of Colorado, and he joins me now. What was it like, Congressman, to be in that chamber today?
Well, Chris, it was a solemn, heavy day for the Congress, solemn, heavy day for the country. I will say, as I watched some of the remarks that you just showed from some of my Republican colleagues, what was striking is that they were devoid of any substantive defenses, any cogent arguments to defend the president's conduct. Everyone knows, sitting in that chamber, that what the president did last Wednesday was impeachable. There is no question that he committed high crimes and misdemeanors, and the fact that you had multiple Republicans, including the #3 Republican in the United States House of Representatives, Liz Cheney, vote in favor of impeachment, ultimately speaks to that. So, to those who questioned whether or not the Congress would have the resolve, whether we would shirk from our constitutional duty, I think the answer tonight was a resounding no, that ultimately we would stand tall and fulfill our constitutional oath to vindicate the Constitution and hold this president accountable, which we did. And of course, now we'll proceed to try this case in the United States Senate.
There's two ways of looking at those 10 votes on the Republican side. One way is that this is only the fourth impeachment of a president in history. And this was by far the most bipartisan vote. They have been routinely quite partisan because impeaching a president tends to break down along party lines. So in that sense, historically, this was a historically bipartisan repudiation. In another way, there's 197 Republicans who had to flee to a secure site after the president unleashed a mob on them that ended up with 5 people dead, including a police officer bludgeoned to death, who were like, what do you make of that?
It's disturbing, Chris. I mean, I think that your framing is accurate. Obviously, historically, the fact that this is only the 4th time in the history of the country that the president has been impeached, and as you said, this is certainly the most bipartisan vote of those 4 historically. The parallels, of course, which you have said on your program, many of us have said this before, to the Andrew Johnson presidency are too glaring to ignore. So we should, I think, ultimately commend the Republicans who did, in fact, vote today in favor of impeachment, who chose country over party. But obviously, your latter point is spot on. It is disturbing beyond words that so many Republicans, literally after experiencing the armed insurrection that we experienced a week ago, I was on the floor during the January 6th proceedings, and to think that they would be unwilling to show the courage necessary to uphold their oath and vote in favor of impeachment today. Obviously, it's deeply disappointing to me and to so many others. But look, I think the majority of American people recognize the stakes. They recognize the gravity. They understand why the Congress was compelled to take the solemn step that we did today.
What, as a House impeachment manager, what is your understanding of what the next steps for you and your colleagues are?
Well, we will prepare to ultimately try this case in the United States Senate. And of course, from having covered the previous trial not that long ago, the first impeachment of this particular president in January of last year, how that process unfolds. So myself and my fellow managers, many with whom I serve on the Judiciary Committee, people like Jamie Raskin, who's a tremendous lead manager. I think the Speaker made excellent, wonderful choices in the team that she has assembled. All of us have extensive litigation experience or lawyers prior to being elected to the United States Congress, and so we'll be prepared to try this case, and we're hopeful that the senators will take an objective look at the facts, at the evidence presented. Ultimately, if they do so, I believe that they will ultimately reach a conviction of this president.
Congressman Joe Neguse from the state of Colorado, one of the impeachment managers who was there today on this historic and sad and troubling occasion. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Chris.